The summer of 1997 was supposed to be the start of something new for Emily and Mark Daniels. Newlyweds, barely 6 months into their marriage, they had rented a quaint beach house along the rugged coastline of Cape Cod. It was the kind of place that promised peace, a fresh beginning far from the chaos of city life. The rental was a charming two-story cottage weathered by salty air and time, with whitewashed shingles and blue trim that had faded under countless summers. A wraparound porch overlooked the rocky shore, where waves crashed rhythmically against the cliffs below. It was perfect, or so it seemed. Emily was a schoolteacher with a quiet disposition and an infectious smile. Mark, a budding artist, had eyes that held the depth of the ocean and a restless spirit that thrived on adventure. They were a match made in dreams, or at least that's how everyone who knew them believed. The first week passed without incident. They settled in, unpacking boxes filled with hope and memories from their wedding. The locals were friendly but reserved, often nodding politely when Emily and Mark stopped by the corner store or the diner. Rumors of old shipwrecks and ghost stories drifted through the salty air, but the couple dismissed them as small-town lore. Then, on the night of August 14th, everything changed. The wind had picked up by evening, whipping through the dunes and rattling the windows of the beach house. Emily was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when Mark stepped out onto the porch to check the horizon. The sky was overcast, threatening rain, and the moon struggled to peek through the clouds. Neighbors later reported hearing raised voices from the property that night. Some recalled the sound of an argument, tense and hurried, but no one dared to intervene. After all, it was a private residence. What no one expected was that Emily and Mark Daniels would vanish without a trace. The following morning, the rental was eerily silent. Mail piled up in the mailbox, and the curtains remained drawn. When the owner, Mr. Harold Pritchard, arrived for a routine inspection, he found the house locked tight from the inside. No lights, no sounds, no sign of the couple. A call to the local police followed. Officers forced entry, their flashlights slicing through the dim rooms. The beds were unmade, dishes still sat on the table, and the scent of salt hung heavy in the air. It was as if Emily and Mark had simply stepped out and never returned. Yet, despite exhaustive searches, scouring the cliffs, the shoreline, nearby towns, no evidence emerged, no footprints leading away, no vehicle, no calls or messages. The only clue was a strange noise complaint filed by Mr. Pritchard the very night of their disappearance. He reported loud banging and what sounded like heavy footsteps coming from the basement. What basement? The beach house, records showed, had a small cellar with a hatch concealed beneath a thick rug in the living room, but during the initial search, police had found it locked tight, bolted from the inside. Mr. Pritchard refused to provide the key. He claimed it was misplaced and that he'd been unable to enter the basement for years. His sudden sale of the property, 2 days after Emily and Mark vanished, raised eyebrows, but no charges were ever brought. The case went cold, relegated to dusty files and whispered speculation. Years passed. The beach house changed hands multiple times, each owner unaware or unwilling to investigate the locked basement further, until the storm. For nearly 3 decades, the old beach house stood battered by time and weather, its secrets buried beneath layers of salt and sand. Over the years, the property passed through several owners, none of whom stayed long enough to uncover the mystery of the locked basement hatch. By 2024, the house had become little more than a local curiosity, a weathered relic looming on the cliff's edge, battered by the relentless Atlantic storms. The once vibrant white paint peeled away, revealing gray, rotted shingles beneath. The blue trim had faded into a dull haze, and the porch, which once offered views of endless ocean, creaked ominously in the wind. That year, a massive nor'easter slammed into the Cape Cod coastline, bringing torrential rain, fierce winds, and pounding waves. The storm's fury uprooted trees, flooded roads, and forced evacuations. It was one of the most violent weather events in recent memory. As the storm raged, a strange event took place. When the skies finally cleared and the locals emerged from their shelters, the beach was transformed. The storm had stripped away layers of sand and soil from the dunes and cliffs, exposing hidden parts of the landscape long forgotten. Among these revealed secrets was the basement hatch, the one locked for all these years. Now, thanks to the storm's powerful winds and water, the rug that once concealed the hatch in the living room had been ripped away, leaving the heavy metal door exposed for the first time in 27 years. Word spread quickly. The current owner, a young woman named Laura Bennett, was intrigued and terrified. She had purchased the property with plans to renovate and sell it, but had never dared explore the locked cellar. Now, with the hatch visible and accessible, Laura called the local authorities. A team of investigators arrived, flashlights and tools in hand, prepared to unlock the mystery. With a creak and a clang, the hatch was forced open. Inside, they found a small, stone-walled basement, eerily preserved and filled with a thick layer of dry sand. At the center sat an antique clawfoot bathtub, half buried under the sand. On the edge of the tub lay 2 wedding rings, simple, gold bands, unmistakably worn and aged. The discovery sent shockwaves through the town and reignited the cold case of Emily and Mark Daniels. Police reopened the investigation, calling on retired officers who had worked the original case, as well as forensic experts. The question on everyone's mind was chilling. Why had the basement been sealed and filled with sand? And what had happened to the couple? The answers were elusive. Interviews with neighbors from 1997 revealed few new clues. One local woman, Mrs. Grace Harper, recalled seeing Mr. Pritchard, the original owner, acting strangely in the days before the couple vanished. She remembered how he hurriedly packed boxes and spoke about leaving the country. When questioned, Mr. Pritchard remained tight-lipped, offering only vague excuses about business troubles and personal reasons. His sudden disappearance from town had always been suspicious, but no evidence connected him directly to Emily and Mark's fate. The 2 wedding rings found in the basement were analyzed. Forensic testing confirmed they belonged to Emily and Mark Daniels. But how had they ended up there decades later? As investigators scoured the basement, they found faint footprints embedded in the sand, too small for Mr. Pritchard's heavy boots and too large for any child's. The prints led to a small, rusted hatch in the corner, sealed shut and covered in corroded chains. Breaking the seal revealed a narrow tunnel descending deeper underground. The passage was dark and damp, with the unmistakable scent of salt and decay. What lay beyond was a dark secret, waiting to be uncovered. The tunnel stretched out like a dark vein beneath the house, its walls slick with moisture and faintly glistening from the remnants of sea salt carried in by the storm. The investigators, armed with flashlights and breathing masks, descended carefully into the narrow space, the air growing colder and heavier with each step. The tunnel was barely wide enough for one person, forcing them to move single file. The ground beneath their boots was uneven, composed of rough stones and loose sand. As they progressed, a faint metallic scent mixed with the damp earth, hinting at something long hidden. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a small chamber carved out of bedrock. In the center stood a rusted metal cabinet, its doors hanging open to reveal a collection of yellowed papers, rusted tools, and a worn, leather-bound journal. One of the officers carefully lifted the journal, its pages brittle but legible. The handwriting inside was shaky but deliberate, a series of entries dated from 1996 to mid-1997. The journal belonged to none other than Harold Pritchard, the property's former owner. As the team read through the entries, a chilling story unfolded. Harold wrote about financial troubles, mounting debts, and a growing paranoia that someone was watching him. He described strange noises at night, footsteps echoing outside, shadows lurking near the property. But most disturbing were his entries about Emily and Mark. According to Harold, the couple had discovered something in the basement, something he desperately wanted to keep hidden. He wrote of heated arguments with Mark, threats exchanged behind closed doors, and a growing fear that the couple might expose whatever secret lay beneath the house. One entry from August 13th, 1997, just a day before the disappearance, read, They won't understand. I have to protect it. No one can find out. If they do, everything is lost. I've locked the basement for their own good, but I fear it's already too late." The final entry, dated August 15th, was abruptly cut off. "The hatch is sealed. They won't leave. I must leave before—" The rest of the sentence was smudged and illegible. The investigators exchanged uneasy glances. Whatever Harold was hiding, it was tied directly to the disappearance of Emily and Mark. As they searched the chamber further, they uncovered old photographs, grainy images of the house under construction in the 1940s, with workers uncovering something buried deep in the basement. One photo showed a strange stone carving, half buried in sand, a symbol resembling a clawed hand reaching upward. Questions swirled. Was this why Harold had panicked? What was buried beneath the house that he feared so much? The team carefully bagged the journal and photographs for further analysis, but the mystery only deepened. Meanwhile, the small town buzzed with renewed interest. Locals who had long forgotten the couple's disappearance now speculated wildly. Some whispered of curses and ancient secrets, others spoke of criminal cover-ups. Amid the growing storm of rumors, Laura Bennett, the current owner, found herself haunted by dreams, visions of a couple trapped beneath the waves, their hands reaching up in desperation. The beach house, once a symbol of hope and new beginnings, now loomed like a tomb over a dark and tragic secret. The days following the discovery were a whirlwind of activity. News crews flocked to the small town, their cameras capturing the weathered facade of the beach house as locals whispered in hushed tones about the chilling revelations. The reopened investigation into Emily and Mark Daniels had reignited a fire long thought cold. Detective Sarah Whitman, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for solving cold cases, was assigned to lead the probe. She arrived with a measured calm, determined to unravel the truth buried beneath layers of secrecy. Sarah's first move was to track down Harold Pritchard. But he was nowhere to be found. No forwarding address, no phone number, and no known whereabouts since his sudden departure in 1997. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Undeterred, Sarah turned to the town's older residents, hoping to piece together Harold's final days. One afternoon, Sarah met with Mrs. Grace Harper again. The elderly woman's eyes held a shadow of fear as she recounted what she'd seen. "Harold wasn't himself," Grace whispered. "He was obsessed, terrified even. I heard him talking to someone on the phone late at night, arguing about something he called the Claw. He begged them not to send anyone." "The Claw?" Sarah repeated, intrigued. Grace nodded slowly. "He said it was buried beneath the house, some kind of relic or curse. Said it was dangerous, and if it ever came out, bad things would follow." Sarah jotted down notes, sensing the weight of superstition mixed with something more tangible. Meanwhile, the forensic team continued analyzing the basement. The clawfoot tub, once elegant, was now a grim relic. Sand filled its basin, damp and heavy. Embedded within the sand were fragments of what appeared to be shattered glass and rusted metal. Most unsettling were the 2 wedding rings, carefully cleaned and placed on a tray. They bore no signs of damage, but carried an inexplicable aura of loss. As Sarah examined the evidence, a local historian named Tom Matthews approached her. He specialized in Cape Cod's maritime history and had extensive knowledge of old legends. "The symbol you mentioned, the clawed hand, has roots in local folklore," Tom explained. "It's tied to an ancient legend about a sea creature that guarded a lost treasure. Supposedly anyone who disturbed the relic would suffer a terrible fate." Sarah frowned, balancing skepticism with the growing pile of strange facts. "Legends or not," she said, "someone locked that basement for a reason, and Emily and Mark paid the price for it." The investigation grew urgent as unexplained events began to plague the town. Lights flickered mysteriously near the beach house at night. Residents reported hearing low moans carried by the wind, and several pets disappeared without explanation. Laura Bennett, increasingly unnerved, confided in Sarah that she had found strange markings carved into the basement walls, scratches that resembled claws. Together, they decided to bring in experts to document the markings and explore the possibility of structural anomalies beneath the house. As Sarah stood at the cliff's edge one evening, watching the sun dip beneath the restless sea, she felt the weight of the past pressing down on her. The answers she sought were tangled in shadows of fear, greed, and ancient secrets. The question remained, what had Harold Pritchard been so desperate to hide? And would uncovering it finally bring peace, or unleash something far worse? The investigation had entered a critical phase. The experts who examined the claw-like scratches in the basement confirmed they were not natural. Each gouge bore the unmistakable marks of deliberate carving, made with a sharp, heavy tool. But the patterns were indecipherable, almost like a coded message or a warning. Sarah and Laura stood together in the basement, their flashlights casting long shadows against the damp stone walls. The air was thick with dust and the scent of salt, as if the ocean itself had seeped inside. Suddenly, Laura's eyes caught a faint glimmer beneath the layers of sand in the clawfoot tub. She knelt down, brushing away the grains carefully, until her fingers touched something cold and metallic. Pulling it free, she revealed a rusted key, unlike anything Sarah had seen before. Its intricate design bore the same clawed hand symbol seen in the old photographs and scratches. "This must open something," Laura whispered. Further exploration of the tunnel revealed a hidden door embedded into the bedrock, concealed behind fallen debris. The lock was ancient, but the claw-shaped key fit perfectly. With a turn and a creak, the door swung open to reveal a small chamber illuminated by faint shafts of daylight filtering through cracks. Inside lay a weathered wooden chest bound by iron straps and covered in dust. As Sarah opened the lid, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. The chest contained a collection of strange artifacts, sea-worn coins from centuries past, shards of pottery with unknown markings, and a faded parchment sealed in a glass tube. Carefully, Sarah unrolled the parchment, revealing a map of the coastline dated to the early 1700s. Along the shore was marked a hidden cove labeled the Claw's Reach, a place spoken of in whispered legend but never officially documented. The parchment also contained a chilling warning in archaic script. "Beware the claw that guards the depths, for those who seek its treasure shall be kept. Beneath the sand and ocean's hand lie secrets lost to time's command." As Sarah read aloud, Laura shivered, the weight of the curse feeling all too real. The implication was clear. Centuries ago, a powerful relic had been hidden beneath this very land, guarded by forces unknown and deadly. But why had Harold Pritchard sealed it away? And how did Emily and Mark's disappearance tie into this ancient secret? The mystery deepened when a forensic report revealed traces of a rare mineral on the wedding rings, one found only near a sunken shipwreck several miles off the coast. It suggested that Emily and Mark had somehow come into contact with something submerged and dangerous. Sarah pieced the clues together. The couple, drawn by curiosity or fate, had discovered the relic beneath the house. Harold, knowing the peril it posed, had tried to contain them, to hide the secret forever. And when he failed, he fled, leaving the house and its buried curse to claim its victims. Outside, the storm's aftermath continued to shape the landscape. The ocean's relentless tides whispered of secrets best left undisturbed. Sarah and Laura knew their next step: to explore the Claw's Reach, to find the sunken relic, and finally uncover the truth behind the vanished couple. But as night fell, a chilling wind swept through the town, carrying with it the haunting sound of waves crashing against stone, and something else. A low, guttural growl rising from the depths. The dawn broke with a restless gray light, casting a pale glow over the turbulent sea. Sarah and Laura set out early, joined by Tom Matthews, the local historian, and a small team of divers and archaeologists. Their destination, the hidden cove marked on the ancient map, the Claw's Reach. The journey was tense. The cliffs loomed overhead, jagged and forbidding, while the waves crashed relentlessly below. Tom recounted the local legends once more, his voice low. They say the claw is a guardian. Some say a creature, others a curse, that protects a treasure buried beneath the ocean floor. Many have tried to find it, but none have returned. Sarah's resolve hardened. For Emily and Mark, for the truth buried beneath years of silence, she had to know. The divers slipped beneath the churning waves, their flashlights cutting through the murky water. After hours of searching, they discovered a submerged cavern entrance, encrusted with barnacles and coral. Inside, relics from a centuries-old shipwreck lay scattered, rusted anchors, shattered barrels, and broken timbers. At the heart of the cavern, they found an ornate chest, locked but intact. Using tools from their equipment, they carefully pried it open. Inside lay a strange artifact, a claw-shaped amulet carved from a dark, glossy stone that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. As Sarah held the amulet, a sudden shudder rippled through the water, and a deep rumble echoed from the cavern walls. Suddenly a shadow moved. A massive, indistinct shape stirred in the depths, rising slowly toward them. Panic surged through the team as the water churned violently. Back on shore, Laura watched anxiously. The waves crashed harder, and the sky darkened as if responding to the disturbance beneath. The creature, if it was one, emerged just enough to reveal a monstrous clawed limb, then retreated into the darkness. The team hurried to the surface, clutching the amulet. Later, at the lab, tests revealed the amulet contained traces of a rare mineral matching that found on Emily and Mark's rings. It was clear now. The couple had discovered the amulet, and the deadly secret Harold had tried to hide. Sarah pieced together the tragic truth. Harold had found the amulet decades ago and understood its dangerous power. He'd tried to protect the town by sealing it away beneath the house, but Emily and Mark's curiosity led them to uncover it. The clawfoot tub filled with sand in the basement was a grim symbol, an attempt to bury the past and the curse it carried. As for the couple, they were likely trapped or lost trying to escape the power of the relic, perhaps taken by whatever guardian lurked in the depths. The case remained unsolved in many ways, but the discovery brought closure, a warning to respect the secrets buried by time. Sarah and Laura stood once more on the cliff, watching the restless sea. "The past doesn't always stay buried," Sarah said quietly. Laura nodded, but maybe now it's time for the town to heal. The waves crashed on, relentless and eternal, guarding the mysteries of the deep.